Is it just me, or more and more Christians are struggling with depression, anxiety, and their overall mental health? I'm sure you've seen this phenomenon before, but is it just because we've become a bunch of softies? Some of us have, but I don't think that is the main problem here. And I know this reality is challenging for many Christians, because shouldn't our faith protect us from the things that plague the minds and souls and spirits of those who don't have Christ? This might surprise you, but I think that the main reason why thousands and thousands of Christians struggle with depression and anxiety day in and day out is because of their faith, because of Christianity itself. At least because of a version of Christianity. But I don't think that this cold office is a suitable place for this kind of conversation. I want to take you to a very special place, a place that's better suited for this tender and very important conversation. Let's go. Today, we're going to take a walk together as I try to unravel what might be the #1 reason why you, myself, and many other Christians we love are struggling with mental health in a particularly Christian way, which in and of itself is weird, don't you think? Welcome to the beginning of our journey. Welcome to Pacific Spirit Park. So when you first start your journey or your walk with God, everything is new. And the potential for good and goodness feels endless. Who can I become if God is with me? I always felt like the higher your expectations of what God can do, the more faith in God and His power you have. And I always felt like a good child of God because apparently I trusted God more than apparently my friends did, because I got higher expectations of God. So easy and simple, even mathematical correlations. The higher your expectations, the higher the outcomes. Divine math. Divine mathematics. So I was always against people like Alexander Pope, who would say things like, "Blessed is he who expects nothing, for he will never be disappointed." Are you crazy? God is never gonna disappoint me. He'll never gonna let me down. Or when Donald Miller says in his book, A Million Miles in 1,000 Years, when you stop expecting people to be perfect, you can like them for who they are. Shut up, Miller. Because if Christ is with me, who can stand against me? I will shoot for perfection. Or Indian Knight, who says, be realistic with your expectations. I'd like to cuddle a unicorn, but that ain't gonna happen. Abso-freaking-lutely not, because that was contrary to faith, and I was having none of it. Zero, nada. That was me for most of my Christian life. I started going to church at the very tender age of 6, and I gave my life to Christ at the age of 14. I was more than sure that I was going to be the Apostle Paul of my generation. It won't surprise you to hear that I was part of a very charismatic church. The stuff I thought I was going to do in Christ and how Christ was going to show Himself in me was off the freaking charts. I wasn't ready nor prepared to manage the expectations that I had set for myself in terms of growth, in terms of sanctification. Though 1,000 may fall on my side and 10,000 on my right, I was not going to fall. I was going to stand for Christ and His gospel and His truth. So as I kept sinning and failing in an epic fashion, I always hoped that one day that was going to change, that I was still going to conquer all of my sins and finally become the Apostle Paul of my generation. And this continued year after year after year. And today, I am 37 years old. I am definitely not who I was back then, nor believe what I did back then. I don't read the Bible in the same way, and my theology overall has evolved. But what is the most tragic thing of this story is that the expectations that I set for myself when I was a very romantic, all out for Christ, overconfident dreamer still haunt me to this day. And slowly, but surely they're causing my overall mental health to steadily decline and deteriorate. Because the truth of the matter is that reality cannot match what I expected of it, nor what I expected of me. Say hi. And if left unchecked, this will continue to wreak havoc, not just in my life, but in the life of my wife and in the life of especially my kid, my own son. But I don't think this is just a me problem, is it? I don't think this is a thing of, this is my personality. I do have a certain type of personality. I always wanted to be number one, the top dog, the dominant male, whatever. You had your own expectations that might be very different than mine. Maybe you didn't want to be the Apostle Paul of your generation. Maybe you weren't like aiming that high, but you had expectations. Do you remember what they were? Are they stressing and pulling strings in the back of your head? Having said that, are we the only ones to blame? Aren't there verses to back up our crazy expectations? Verses like, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. What then shall we say, brothers? If God is for us, who is against us? But those who hope in the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar, fly on wings like eagles. They will run and not be tired. They will walk and not grow weary. God didn't give me a spirit that is timid, but one that is powerful, loving, and self-controlled. If anyone is in Christ, he is the new creature. The old things have passed, the new things have come. Did you know that I have a tattoo that says that right over there? In Spanish though. So explain to me, how on earth are we supposed to fail after verses like that? But fail you do, and fail you will. And that's gonna slowly but surely gonna wreak havoc in your mental health. So am I saying that all of these verses are wrong? That we have been fooled by a bunch of BS? Not at all, not for 1 second. As a matter of fact, I will read all of those verses that I just read to you. I will read them to my own son because I believe in them. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to manage my expectations better. And I'm going to try to paint a better picture to my son. I need to reassess all of the havoc that my crazy expectation based on those verses did to my life, to my mental health. And what a number they have done in my life in terms of stress, frustration, anger, and overall disappointment with myself for not being the man that I was supposed to be, that I dreamed of when I was insane and didn't know better. I will also remember that verse in Romans 13 that says, "For by the grace given to me, I say to every one of you, do not think of yourself more highly than you ought to, but rather think of yourselves with sober judgment." And maybe I will start listening to people like Donald Miller after all, who says that when you stop expecting people to be perfect, you can love them for who they are. You can finally love them for who they are. And maybe that way I will like myself a little bit more each day. Or also be more realistic with my expectations, like Indian Night says, and remind myself that I would also like to cuddle a unicorn. But that's very likely not gonna happen. So before you click on this very important video that YouTube thinks you should definitely watch right now, let me leave you with this phrase. May we all, as Ivan Illich says, rediscover the distinction between hope and expectation.